Could Owen Power be the generational defensive talent that finally solves Toronto's blue line problems for the next decade? Or is Brad Treliving about to overpay for a player who's underperformed in Buffalo and might never reach his elite potential? Let me set the stage for what might be the most ambitious two-part offensive and defensive overhaul in Toronto Maple Leafs history. While Alex Tuch would solve the present by giving Auston Matthews a legitimate power forward to work with, the second part of this Buffalo raid focuses on securing the future of the blue line for an entire decade. The name is Owen Power, the Mississauga native and former first overall draft pick who's had a brutal time in Buffalo, with criticism about his consistency, a -8 goal differential, and rumors swirling that the Sabres might be willing to listen to offers to shake up their core. Toronto has identified an opportunity to acquire generational defensive talent on the cheap. The proposal is complex and audacious. Owen Power carries a long, expensive contract at $8.35 million through 2031. To bring him to Toronto, the Leafs would need to send significant salary back in return. Names like Max Domi or Matthias Maxelli are being floated as trade currency to balance the books. It's not a simple one-for-one swap. It's a complicated financial and asset maneuver that requires precision and creativity. Let's start by understanding why Owen Power is even worth considering despite his struggles in Buffalo. First, there's a local factor. Power grew up cheering for the Toronto Maple Leafs. He's a Mississauga kid who dreamed of playing for his hometown team. History shows us that players who return home often find a new level of motivation and commitment. John Tavares was struggling in New York before coming to Toronto and finding renewed purpose. The same could happen with Owen Power. Second, there's the ceiling. Power is 6'4", he skates like the wind, and he's only 23 years old. The talent is absolutely there. The question isn't whether he has elite potential. The question is whether he can realize that potential. In Toronto, protected by veterans like Chris Tanev or paired with Jake McCabe, his former college teammate, he could finally break through and become the #1 defenseman he was drafted to be. Third, there's a tactical necessity. The Leafs' defense is workmanlike. It gets the job done, but it lacks that elite transition element that separates good defenses from great ones. Power is exactly that. A puck mover who initiates the attack from the back end. He's the kind of defenseman who can turn defense into offense in a heartbeat, and that's exactly what Craig Berube's system demands. Now let's talk about the obstacles, because this trade is far from a slam dunk. Buffalo isn't going to give Power away for nothing. New general manager Jarmo Kekalainen wants to make an impact, and trading away a former first overall pick would send a message that he's willing to make bold moves. But it also means he's going to demand significant assets in return. The package would likely involve a young, NHL-ready forward. And here's where it gets tricky. Matthew Knies would be untouchable. He's too valuable to the current core. But Nick Robertson or Ben Danford could be on the table, along with draft picks. The question is whether Buffalo would accept that package, or if they demand something more significant. The risk is also substantial. What if Owen Power is just good and never becomes great? Paying $8.35 million for a second-pair defenseman is dangerous and could handicap the salary cap for years. But if he becomes the #1 defenseman he was drafted to be, that contract becomes an absolute steal by 2028. That's the gamble Treliving would be taking. Let's also consider the timing. With a new GM in Buffalo wanting to leave his mark, the window for this steal might only be open right now, during the holiday break. If Kekalainen decides to give Power more time to develop, the opportunity could evaporate. If Toronto doesn't act soon, the chance might be gone forever. The psychological impact of acquiring both Alex Tuch and Owen Power would be seismic. It would signal that the organization is serious about competing for a championship, that management is willing to make bold moves, and that the future is now. It would transform Toronto from a one-dimensional team into a complete roster with elite talent on both ends of the ice. But here's the reality. This is a franchise-altering move. Trading for Owen Power is saying, this is our defensive pillar for the next 8 years. It's betting the future on a 23-year-old who struggled in his current situation. It's a high-risk, high-reward play that could either transform a franchise or become a cautionary tale about overpaying for potential. Brad Treliving has spent weeks chasing various defensive solutions. Maybe the answer isn't Rasmus Andersson or Dougie Hamilton or Justin Falk. Maybe the answer is Owen Power, a player with generational potential who just needs the right situation and the right support system to finally break through. If Treliving can somehow orchestrate both the Alex Tuch acquisition and the Owen Power trade, he doesn't just improve the Leafs for this season, he transforms the franchise for the next decade. He gives Auston Matthews a legitimate power forward to work with, and he secures an elite defensive cornerstone for years to come. That's the kind of two-prong attack that actually wins Stanley Cups. So here's the question for Leafs Nation. Is Owen Power the generational defensive talent that Toronto desperately needs? Or is Brad Treliving about to overpay for a player who might never reach his elite potential? Would you trade Nick Robertson, Ben Danford, and draft picks to acquire Power? Or would you prefer to stick with the current defensive group? Drop your thoughts in the comments and hit that like button if you want more coverage of this potential blockbuster and the strategic direction of the organization. Because right now, the Maple Leafs have a chance to make two massive moves that could transform the franchise, and Owen Power might be the final piece of the puzzle.